Welcome back to Man Down Sports. I took a 2-week hiatus. I'm back by myself today. We had a full panel next week, but I do have a full episode for y'all right now. A lot of things that happen in the sports world. We just go touch on most of the NBA stuff, most of the basketball stuff. I got to catch up with all that stuff, and we got to transition over to NFL and football. That's going to be real crazy, man, to get a chance to talk about fantasy, get a chance to talk about what's going on in the NFL. Man, I really at some point want to get into the things that's going on with the running backs in the NFL, especially Jonathan Taylor and what's going on with Jim Irsay and the Colts and all that good stuff, man. So we're going to get into that in the near future. We definitely got to go over some of these teams and their new looks and what we expect from them coming up in the season. But I got to wrap up this NBA stuff. This NBA stuff is still rounding out. The finals was a month, 2 months ago, and I mean it's still good news and good stuff coming up, man. AD's extension, and you got all these podcasts like Paul George podcast, Stephen A. Smith's podcast, Give It a Ring this podcast that keep pushing out all this NBA content. It's just a lot of stuff to react to. So it was easier to put the NBA to bed in previous years, but it's just too much content coming out this summer. So it's kind of hard to put it away, but we're going to get into it, man. We're going to start with the conversation I heard that was on Gil's Arena, on his Gil's Arena podcast. And, him and Rashad McCants, Brandon Jennings and Nico Wimes' wife. I don't know if that's his ex-wife or if they still married. She's on there. And Josiah, who was one of the co-hosts. They have a lot of heated debates, a lot of interesting conversations, and it's good to react to. It's good conversation. I do want to talk about what they was discussing probably about a week or two ago, and that was Gilbert Arenas is one of the guys who really doesn't believe in the ring chasing and the ring culture and the legacy chasing. He was a guy that by his own admission said that he felt like he got overpaid. Made almost $200 million in his career. He had a huge contract with the Wizards before he had that gun incident, but he made a lot of good money. And he was saying, he changed his life forever and changed the lives of his family forever with that type of money that he was able to bring in. So that's his perspective. But Rashad McCants' perspective is winning. We play to win the game. That's what we play for. And if I'm not winning, then I'm a loser, right? It kind of makes sense, but then that's like the worst way to look at things, because only one team with a 12-man roster can win it every season. And even with that being said, if you look at the last 5 or 6 champions, it's going to like the same teams, the same players. Like it's a lot of teams in the league that are not winning, which means there's a lot of players that are not winning. So to call them all losers is pretty weird, but I understand that everyone is playing to win. Like we're not coming in with a loser's mentality. Like I don't want to win, just pay me the money. I don't think people that has that type of mentality would even get paid. Like they would sense that, we're not going to pay this guy. He's not trying to bring a championship home. He's not trying to put butts in seats. So he's not even practicing. He's not even barely in shape. So no one is showing up in TikTok shape with A+ basketball game that they've been working on all summer so they cannot win. No one is working out in the gym thinking I'm doing this for the contract. They're doing it so they can go out there and bust people's tail on the basketball court. And of course they want to win. Everybody's competitive. So we can exit that out of the way in the first place. Like everyone's trying to win, right? So I'm gonna play for you how this conversation went, and then I'm gonna respond to it after the fact. And I'm gonna throw it up to y'all. Y'all let me know how y'all view it and whose perspective do you understand or do you agree with. But this is the conversation.
Win.
And we didn't come up from the ghetto. And we didn't come up from the ghetto trying to make money. Nigga, the goal wasn't, oh man, I'm at the house. I mean, I'm trying to make all this money. No, I'm trying to be the greatest to ever play.
Basically what you're saying though, 56 million and 7 rings is worth more than 300 million and 0.
No rings. To some people.
Give me the 300.
Cap, your cap.
I didn't say me. I said to some people.
No. Hold on.
I said to some.
No. Before this, I said, would you rather be an owner that had a team for 10 years with 5 rings, only made $500 million, or no rings and make $2 billion?
But I'm an owner.
You picked $2 billion.
I'm an owner. That's a completely different situation. I'm the owner. I'm an owner
who has a team that wins 5 rings.
That's different.
It's the same. You're owning this entity that's becoming winning.
No. When I'm an owner, my job is to make money. As a player, personally, yes, I want to make money, but I also am here to win. I'm also
as
here
an owner, you're trying to be your legacy. Bus cares about his legacy
don't
too.
Care if you win.
You can't change it.
The owners, you already said that the owners don't care if they win; they're still getting money.
Players don't care if they win, long as they're getting money.
Yeah, there are players that care.
How do you change the narrative on you owning it or you playing it? It's still you.
Thank you.
Let me ask you.
So you don't care about being a winner as an owner.
Can I ask you a question?
Not really.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
No. My job is to make sure that I got asses in the seats. A championship is not included in that. No, it's not.
Can I ask a question?
No.
Can I ask a question? Is the game about winning or losing? The game of basketball.
The game of basketball is about playing basketball, winning.
Oh my God, is it about winning or losing? It's about winning. Okay,
don't do
that's
that.
all I wanted to know.
Don't do that.
If the game is about anything else but winning or losing, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I would say, 300 million, but the game of basketball is about winning or losing.
Yes.
And I care about winning in the game that I work my ass off playing, strategizing for.
Yes.
That's what I play for, winning.
No, it's the business of basketball.
I also feel like
the business of basketball is about money.
Hold on.
You start
Y'all said basketball. Hold on. You said
Let's
basketball is about winning, right? Yeah, getting paid, getting 300 million, that's winning. I'm sorry. That's winning.
Some people,
that's winning.
Some people,
but that's winning though.
But
Anybody that's in the NBA that got a contract, that's winning.
You're winning from initially.
When you got drafted,
I mean, the thing about
getting drafted.
because we play basketball.
It don't matter what
Those are moral wins.
It don't matter what round. It don't matter if you get a tick on the clock.
A win is a win.
That you got drafted.
Put the hat on.
That is a win for some people.
A win.
Then there's some people that feel like winning for me is winning a championship, is being being able to say I was the greatest player at this time. Then there's other people that say,
greatest player.
If I never make the playoffs, I'm here for the bread.
All right, man. So there's a lot that was said, man. So you got Brandon Jennings and Gilbert Arenas on one side. That's like, look, 300 mil, give me the money. You know what I mean? I'm not, of course we're trying to win. When I get on the court, what I do in the off season, as far as keeping myself in shape or getting myself in shape or working on my game, showing up to training camp ready to go, that type of mentality, leading the team and leaving it all on the floor when I go out there and play. That's what we do to win, right? I think for the most part, any player that's like a star player, it's going to be very hard to find a player that's in the top 10 of the NBA who don't have that mentality. I think Steph, I think LeBron, I think KD, I think Kyrie, I think Dame. I think all those players have that thought process, that mentality. They want to win. Now, what Miss Rhymes and Rashawn McCants can't really communicate, well is they're making the mistake of thinking that being concerned about your money, like say for instance, a player who has a contract extension, like let's just take Jaylen Brown for example. Jaylen Brown just signed some crazy contract, right? What they're thinking is when you're thinking about winning over the money, Jaylen Brown would turn that contract down and take way less money, right? So he can have a better chance at bringing, I don't know, some other person in that, that can help them win a championship. That's their thought process on putting winning first over the money. And Gilbert Arenas is like, I ain't giving no billionaire no break on no money. Give me all my coins. And I agree with that more, because if all the players did that, then it wouldn't even be a conversation. If I take less money, can I go out and afford this free agent? You know, can I go get this free agent? Because if everybody was thinking about, nah, the team I'm playing on right now is the team I'm going to try to compete with and win. And I'm going to hit that owner in the pockets because I know he's getting very rich off of what we're doing on the basketball court. And that's the real thought process you're supposed to have. So the reason why this conversation can't really come to like a ending point or a resolution because they're thinking different about it. And you can even hear when Rashad McCants and the female said, or like when Gilbert Arenas asked the female, I just talked to you not too long ago and asked you if you was an owner, would you rather have a $3 billion profit with your team, or would you rather have 500 mil profit with 5 rings? And she said, I take the money. And then how does your viewpoint change as a player? And then Rashad McCants also said that basketball is about winning and the business side is about money. So when is a basketball player never thinking about the business side? So they're already just messed up in the head because they think the owner is the only one that's supposed to be thinking about the money and the business side. And they trick the basketball player just like they did entertainers. They do all entertainers like that, especially in the music industry. They trick them into thinking, hey, the fame is the biggest deal that you go get out of this. Let the record company make all that money though. So you got the record company and the people that are handling you from that level owning all the masters, and they getting the royalties and all that stuff, and they getting so much money off of that. Where you're famous, you look rich, but you're really not. You know, the person who owns the record label is rich, and then you end up dying broke, right? That's how entertainers were done for a long time. Athletes are doing a little bit better than the music industry is, but still, the mentality has to change. You have to be business oriented as well. You can't just be thinking about basketball, because now I can leverage that against you, because I can tell you, for the sake of your legacy and for the sake of you being able to win and do all this, you should take less money. While the owner is never going to take less money. The owner is never going to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to take less money. Like whatever I bring in every year, I'm going to take less so I can win. That for the most part, they're not thinking like that, but they want the players to think like that. Right. So that's my whole part, my whole thought process about it. And then another thing I wanted to point out is Rashad McCants keep pushing out like, you know, I'm a winner. If I don't win, nothing else matters. Now he won't keep pushing that narrative out there, and it is some people that are like that. Michael Jordan, Kobe, they're like that, but they also took care of their money. They also got that money, right? So, and Rashad McCants can't trick and fool me to think that he's cut of a cloth of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. You're not built like that. He's saying he is. He's saying he's about just winning and all that stuff, but no, man, come on, man. It's not a lot of people that really think like that, and you got to be a little bit insane to think like that. And when you're a little bit insane, it's evident. Like we have stories of Kobe with the Olympic team getting up at 3-4 in the morning and riding a bike or jogging, and then getting into the weight room, and he's doing all this before LeBron, Carmelo, and D Wade even wake up. He's already up, and he's the oldest one. Still doing it to his body. You get what I'm saying? Matt Barnes talking about Kobe Bryant saying, hey, man, we're doing a blackout workout. Or Caron Butler said that, you know, work out until you black out. You get what I'm saying? Like Kobe was a little bit off his rocker. Michael Jordan was a little bit off his rocker because it was an unhealthy appetite for winning that they had. It was unhealthy, right? Like you want a piece of that, but you really, it's really not it's a gift and a curse, right? Because not many people are going to have that type of appetite for winning, so you're going to want it more than them. That's going to count for something. But at the end of the day, it's also a curse because it haunts you. You get what I'm saying? It makes you not that normal. And Rashad McCants is very normal. He's very normal. So he's not going to fool me to thinking he's one of those dudes. He's not Kobe or Mike. He's just heard them talk before, and he's trying to talk like them. But no, he's not like that. Gilbert Arenas is being 100% honest. There's no way I'm in the league saying I'm giving this owner a break on paying me because I want to win. Because if you get somebody a break, it's no guarantee that they even go be able to build a championship team around you. And then if they do, it's still no guarantee you go win it. Don't take breaks. Legacy is not it's not like that, man. Only people legacy that really get talked about is the people that's probably in the top 10. Magic Johnsons, the Birds, the Michaels, the Kobes, right? We don't even talk about Shaq's legacy that much. And he got, 4 rings? Them rings don't make nobody talk about you more. And once you're done playing, you have to talk about the guys that are playing unless your league is going to die. Like, you can't have a league that is carried by the players that you put on TV every day. And then you talk about the players that's been retired for 10, 15 years more than you talk about the players that's playing. Like, for the league's sake, you have to have living, living, breathing, active players carrying your league. You can't carry your league with the old yesteryear. So it's not even lucrative for the NBA to continue to talk about people. So your legacy is just, they're only going to bring it up when they're comparing it to the next guy, because if we talked you up so much as a legend like Michael Jordan, that now whoever the next guy that's the best in the league is, now we have to compare him to Michael Jordan just for the conversation, because we already got him established as a great. Now we're trying to establish another great, so the comparison has to be done. But once LeBron is retired, he'll be in the shoes of Michael Jordan, to where people start comparing what they're doing now to what LeBron did. You get what I'm saying? So, but it's just a crazy cycle. And when you talk about the rings and the money and all that stuff, the money is more important. The rings is, the rings is just, hey man, we can talk about this guy and say he won 3 or 4 rings and say he was a great, but nobody's saying Karl Malone and Charles Barkley wasn't greats either, right? Yeah. Kevin Garnett got a ring, right, with Boston, and they all play the same position. But if we start talking about top 5 power forwards, Garnett, Karl Malone, and Barkley all going to have their names mentioned in the same sentence. Only one of them got a ring, Garnett. Then you talk about Dirk, he got 1 ring at the power forward position. And you talk about Tim Duncan. So you talking about Duncan, Garnett, Dirk, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. You still talking about Karl Malone and Charles Barkley because they're great players. You have to talk about Carmelo because he's great. You have to talk about T-Mac. The rings ain't doing, the only thing the rings is really doing for, if you are able to reach this high level where you're mentioned with Michael Jordan and people like that, then the rings are going to be a heavy conversation, because now, okay, we established that you one of the top 1% of basketball players. Let's stack your career up against all the other guys that's in that same ilk. And that's how that conversation go. Yeah, it separates the men from the boys. But other than that, if you just a regular star or even a regular superstar, if you ain't up in Michael Jordan's stratosphere, it's a moot point, man. But that's my thought on that, man. I think anybody that'll take the rings over the money is either lying or just confused, right? They're just confused. Like, and then the example they gave was Robert Horry. I think he said Robert Horry made about $50 million in his career, playing for a lot of good teams. Got a lot of championship rings. He got 2 with the Rockets. He got 3 with the Lakers and 2 with the San Antonio Spurs. That man got 7 rings. That man played some good basketball. Made about $50 million, right? His players blowing $50 million. Antoine Walker, he blew about that much. $50 million. Would you rather have 300? Like, seriously, would you rather have $50 million And that's nothing the sneeze at. 50 mil is a lot of money. You just give me 1 mil, I'll be satisfied with that, right? So 50 mil is a lot of money. But for someone to say, would you rather have 50 mil and 7 rings as a role player like Robert Horry? Or would you rather be a superstar that made 300 mil? Just in contracts. Because a superstar like Carmelo Anthony has a shoe deal as well. And he might have other endorsements. You know what I mean? And he's still one of the best. And he's still going to the Hall of Fame. And he's still a top 75 player. He ain't got no rings though. Like, so people are really thinking them rings is really changing much. I mean, only thing I can think of is if you're retired, and I want to say when you start doing stuff like guest speaking and you start doing appearances at events and stuff like that, I think your resume kind of dictates how much you can charge. If you're a Hall of Famer or if you got rings and stuff like that, you might be able to charge more for your services. But seriously, who go pay more for Robert Horry to come speak to them and their kids at their camp more than they pay for Carmelo Anthony? Not me. Not me at all. So I mean, what is the ring for a role player really? What is the rings really worth for a role player? It's just food for thought. That's what I thought. But speaking of money, Anthony Davis just got a bag from the Lakers. I don't know if a lot of people seen this coming, but this is a huge deal because 3 years, 186 mil is about 62 mil a year. 62 mil a year. That is crazy money. That is crazy money. I don't think nobody's in the 60s. He might be the only one in the 60s right now. So that's a huge deal for Anthony Davis. It's a huge deal for NBA. A huge deal for Clutch Sports. And a huge deal for the Lakers too. But there's a lot of mixed emotions about it. A lot of mixed feelings about it because a lot of people are saying, I don't think Anthony Davis is worth that much money. And they're saying he's too injury prone and all of these things. And, you know, those are the things they're saying about Anthony Davis, right? And, you know, I had a friend that messaged me is like, man, he's not worth it. Do you think he's worth it? And I was like, yeah. But I was like, the real answer on if any player is worth their contract is in the team owner's books. Because I can't tell you business wise, and that goes right back to what we was talking about with the rings versus the money, and how owner is looking at it from a business perspective, and they have tricked the players and the fans to only look at it from a basketball perspective. So my whole point about saying that is, if I know exactly how much the owner made per year, especially since Anthony Davis been there, then I would know if he's worth a piece of that pie. But I have to see how much the owner made, because if the owner made in profits, let's say, okay, so Anthony Davis making 62 mil a year, and let's say LeBron stays another 2 years, and I don't know what LeBron's salary is, but let's say he's making 40. So you got 100 mil dedicated to 2 players per year. And then you got to fill out the rest of the roster. And let's say you spend another for the other 10 men on the roster, you probably spend another 100 mil, right? So you spending 200 mil for your roster. Then you paying your head coach, of course, and all that good stuff. If after you pay your coach, your players, the whole staff, and you do everything you got to do for the stadium and all that stuff, if you spent, let's say you spent 500 mil to run your team, but as far as how many games you sold out, and as far as you going to the playoffs and making the playoff run, so that's extra games that other teams are not getting, that you're selling out. You have a TV deal because you're the Lakers and you got 2 superstars that's playing competitive basketball. So you got a TV deal with some network to get I don't know, maybe 20 of your games, so you getting a bag from that. Every jersey you sell, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, every merch item, everything you sell, let's say you made $1 billion in 1 year after all of that. Let's say you made a bill and then you pay everybody $500, so you profiting $500. You get what I'm saying? So so if you're profiting $500 because you made a bill and everything you paid out was $500, then heck yeah, Anthony Davis is worth 60 of that. He's actually worth more than it. But they won't allow us to think that way, because they trying to make it seem like he's only worth what he can do as far as wins for your ball club. And that's part of it, because like I said, when you make the playoffs, you able to play more games, and that's more money that you can make, right? And then your team is interesting because they're competitive. So yeah, that's part of it. But if I'm turning a profit for my team owner, then you daggone right I should get a huge piece of it if I'm Anthony Davis or LeBron James, because you can't sell them tickets without me. You can't get those TV deals without me. Your team's not competitive without me, right? So heck yeah, every player that a team owner decides to pay this much money has already looked at it and looked at their books and said, this is a good deal, because these team owners are very successful men in other ventures of business. They had businesses before they bought a team, most of them, and they still have businesses outside of the team. So they know what they're doing, and they got good people that they hire, and they're not going to give somebody $100 or $200 million if it wasn't a good deal for them as well. You think these players are really going out there and jerking these owners and saying, ha, I got you? No, they've already calculated everything. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, it's already been calculated. Yeah, I'm paying them whatever they're getting, but guess what? I'm getting way more in return. So actually, yeah, most of these players and Anthony Davis, they might be underpaid. He might be worth more than that. I think the star of the team and the co-star of the team, let's say if the owner, whatever the owner's profit is at the end of the year, whatever his profit is, I think he should take, and people gonna get mad at this, but I think the owner should take home only half of that. And I think the team should get half, right? So your roster, whatever your profit was, your roster is supposed to be allocated half of that profit, and then out of that half, I think the co-star and the star of the team get most of that, and it kind of works out like that anyway. But it's not just sliced up as a half pie, right? So I mean, but they might make the players make even more. But they're not gonna. You'll have a Stephen A. Smith or you'll have somebody on ESPN come out here and tell you exactly what the star player makes. Anthony Davis makes this. He's not worth it because he's not playing tonight. Your owner wasting all this money. They'll tell you exactly what all the players make. You can Google it. Everything is right there. But what we don't know is how much the daggone owner made. That's not easily accessible. You gotta cut down some red tape to find that on the internet. You get what I'm saying? And even whatever information they got on the internet about it, it ain't gonna be 100% everything. You know, it's just so much they gotta calculate. You get what I'm saying? So heck yeah. Yeah, Anthony Davis worth that. And he probably worth more. I'm leaning toward definitely worth more, not probably. Another interesting thing, this Wade versus Pierce thing is getting out of hand, man. But it's a good conversation, and I mean, for the people who just think this is not even a debate, they're not looking at it they're not really looking at it basketball wise, right? So it's a couple of ways people look at this. Paul Pierce will come out, and you know, on several occasions, people keep asking him about this, man. Whatever show he go on, because 3-4 years ago when he was on ESPN, and he first said he's better than Wade, or he had a better career than Wade. I don't know how he worded it, and everybody wanted to clown him and bring up the stats and all this stuff, which definitely heavily weighs in Wade's favor. If you look at stats, if you look at resume, I mean, that's go heavily be in Wade's favor. However, that's not how I look at it. I'm looking at it probably how like Paul Pierce is looking at it, like basketball wise. Ability for ability, skill for skill, who's a better player? And it's closer than people would give it credit for. People just think it's just easily Wade with no debate. Like I said, if you go to Google and you Google career stats, points per game over their career, and how many first team defenses, how many scoring titles, how many points, how many championship rings, when you go all that, it's gonna be easily Wade, right? Wade wins the resume hands down. There's no debate. But when you start talking about basketball, period, and that's why Paul Pierce keep bringing up. Yeah, he played with Shaq. If I had Shaq when I was 24 years old, I think the way he played 3 years in college, he probably was 23 as a rookie, 24 when Shaq showed up. Yeah, so Wade was probably 24 when he got Shaq, and Pierce was like, if I had Shaq at 24, I probably would have got a ring too at 24, which is probably true. He said, if I had the Miami Heat big three, if I had Bosh and LeBron and Ray Allen next to me, I probably would get 2 rings too, probably more, right? Which is kind of true. You could say that, right? And as a matter of fact, Pierce might fit better with that squad because remember, there was a lot of growing pains having 2 downhill type players that need to get to the rim and need the ball like Wade and LeBron. That's why they got their butt whooped by the Dallas Mavericks. They had to figure that out. It would have been more seamless with Paul Pierce. He's able to catch and shoot. He's able to spray the floor. It probably would have clicked a little bit quicker than it did with Wade and LeBron. But they figured it out, and they got 2 out of 4 rings out of the deal. But who knows? Paul Pierce and they probably would have meshed a little bit better. I say all that to say this. When he brings up, if I would have played with the guys he played with, my career would probably look different as well. What he's really doing is he's taking out the accolades and the resume out of it, because he's saying the resume is circumstantial, right? The people's resume is what it is based on circumstances. It's based on how good you are as well, but you could be good and be in the wrong circumstance, and somebody that's just as good as you in the right circumstance would on paper blow you out of the water, which is what happened in this case. On paper, Wade blow his resume out of the water. But I'm gonna play Antoine Walker's comments about the whole situation. He kind of tiptoed around a little bit because he played with both players. He played with Paul very young. They came to Boston together, and then he won a championship with Wade and Shaq and that stack squad, right? This is how he tackled that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Paul Pierce has made some noise on social media comparing his career to Dwayne Wade's. So I just want you to settle this argument once and for all. You spent a lot of time playing with Paul Pierce. You spent a lot of time playing with D Wade. Who was the better player, Paul Pierce or Dwayne Wade?
This is tough, man. I'm going to give you guys – I'm going to answer your question. I'm not going to avoid the question. But D Wade had his Hall of Fame celebration here last week. And I went on I was on Paper Route on another podcast show. And D Wade didn't like my response because I said Paul would have gave him a run for his money in a one-on-one. And D Wade was pissed at me because he said who you won a championship with. But to answer your question, I mean, and this is once you really start thinking about it, it's really 2 different players. Paul Pierce was a big body, 230-pound, really small forward, a true small forward. When you think of Paul Pierce, you think of more matchups with LeBron James and some of the premier Carmelo Anthony, some of the premier 3 men in the league. D Wade was a little different, and then D Wade was way better in transition. He can get out in transition, finish at the rim. Obviously, with the athleticism that obviously D Wade had. I would say Paul, both of them were good defenders. D Wade was just better in the passing lane. You know, you start splitting hairs when you start talking about those two guys. But obviously, D Wade has won 3 titles, is going to the Hall of Fame, and right now, you know, obviously, Paul's a Hall of Famer. You know, and so I think this is playing. But they're very close. I play with 2 dynamic players. I just think, you know, Paul's more of a throwback than D Wade when I'm thinking about offensively, where Paul's going to post you up. Score in a more methodical way, where D Wade is going to get out and transition. He's high fire act. He's an exciting player in transition. So you know, you nitpicking at some point. Yeah. When you get to talking about those 2 guys, and they both going to get their just due in the Hall of Fame.
So you hear how he broke it down. He went to actual basketball. He went on the floor. You know, he did mention the championship rings, but that was about it. You know, so you know, most people who just, you know, watching the sport for entertainment and all that stuff, they're just going to go to the Google stats and say the stats are better on Wade's side, so that means Wade is better. I wouldn't do it that way, and of course, Antoine Walker didn't do it that way. And you heard him say at the beginning, he got in trouble with D Wade. D Wade got mad at him because he kind of chose Paul Pierce when he was first asked this years ago, because he knows how good Paul Pierce is, right? So let's talk about now. First, let me start it by saying this: I wouldn't even pick between Wade and Pierce, because I really do think it's close, and I just think that they're different. Like Antoine said, they're different players, so it's kind of hard to evaluate them. They're very different. One is very athletic, uber athletic, which is Wade. And he can overwhelm you with speed, athleticism, leaping ability. He was very close to a freak athlete, right? So that counts for something. Paul Pierce wasn't a freak athlete that way. He wasn't a horrible athlete. He wasn't a freak athlete. But what he did have going for him is he was highly skilled with and without the basketball, and he could score in so many ways, from the 3. From the mid, from the paint, in the post, slashing, catch and shoot, coming off pin downs, free throws, all that stuff was legit. He could handle the ball, all of that. Wade, fast break. I mean, he's gonna kill you in the fast break. In the half court, he developed a post game. Post game was decent. It wasn't as good as Paul Pierce. And as far as what he was gonna do off the ball, I mean, he can slash, you know, but as far as, okay, I need to spread the floor, and I got Dwayne Wade in the corner and he's going to be a threat to knock down a catch and shoot 3. He wasn't that guy. He did most of his damage with the ball. Was you going to come set a pin down screen or off ball screen for D Wade and let him run off of it like he's Reggie Miller? No, he's not going to do that. Wasn't good at that. Paul Pierce was, right? So it's so many different things that you can use Paul Pierce with. And then why I give Wade the edge at on defense is his athleticism and speed also made him somewhat of a better defender. But Paul Pierce wasn't a bad defender, not by a long shot. Not the way he guarded Kobe and not the way he guarded LeBron in those tough battles. He accepted that challenge and did it. Not the way he guarded Melo. You get what I'm saying? Paul Pierce was a good defender as well. But off the ball, chasing people around screens and doing all that stuff, you got to get at the Wade because he's fast and athletic. Wade been able to switch on the point guard and lock him up. So it's a lot of on the defensive end that you got to get the nod to Wade. So if Wade wasn't as a dominant scorer as Paul Pierce, because he couldn't do it in every way possible on offense, he just did it mostly by getting to the paint, getting to the hole, going downhill, but he was still giving you the same, if not more, points. And then on top of that, he's a better defender. You would kind of, if you just in a total vacuum, you've got to kind of give it to Wade, but it's not by much. That's my whole point. So if you really pulled my arm and said you have to choose, I probably would say, adding the defensive element, I would say Wade. So, you know, because you got to be on both ends. But if we're saying who's the better scorer, I'm saying Paul Pierce is the better scorer, right? So that's the thing you gotta think about and look at. But like I was saying, people who just looking at it on the surface, they're just gonna pull the stats up, and whatever the stats say, and whatever the stats suggest, and whatever the resume say, and whoever got the most accolades, they're gonna lean toward that, man. But trust me, it's not far off. It's not far off at all. It's close. And if I was Paul Pierce, I keep messing with it. I keep saying it. Why not? You're already in the Hall of Fame. You're not gonna lose nothing from it. You ain't gonna gain nothing either. He just talking what he really believe, and that's fine. That's fine. Wade has more friends in the media. Wade has more fans. So this battle is always gonna, especially on Twitter and especially on ESPN and on the media, it's always gonna be lopsided. And they're always going to have people on Wade's side kind of clowning Paul Pierce. But Paul Pierce still talking his junk. He believed what he believed. He said what he said. So just the simple fact that it's not as big as a gap as people think it is, and it's close. I would rather not call it. But if you twist my arm with the defensive element, I'll probably give it away. Last thing I wanted to talk about was Stephen A. Smith. So here's my idea on Stephen A. Smith. I did a handful of videos on Stephen A. Smith on certain things, especially his beef with Kyrie Irving and all that stuff, right? And it is my opinion, and players like Kwame Brown has said similar things. It is my opinion that Stephen A. Smith is not just an analyst that's entertaining sometimes, right? He's not just that. They pay him a lot of money, and it ain't just for entertainment. I think he's used as a mouthpiece to do other things. And I kind of explained some of that. I think, because he's really good friends with owners. He's good friends with the commissioner. I ain't gonna say good friends. He has a good relationship with a lot of owners, a lot of GMs, and he says this comes out of his own mouth. And the commissioner, Adam Silver, right? He's got a good relationship with them, a working relationship. They talk. They got each other phone numbers. So when you got a plant in a media like Stephen A. Smith, this is my opinion. I think he's a media plant, and he's a mouthpiece for several people, including the commissioner and some NBA GMs. And I think some of the things he say are strategic. And if you want to try to put two and two together, when you look at what the new CBA was and some of the things that came out of the new CBA dealing with players playing games where they were saying, okay, now you got to pay 65 games minimum to be eligible for any major award. You can't get first team, second team, third team, defensive player of the year, MVP. You can't get any of those things. I don't even know if you can get rookie of the year without the minimum 65 games. And Adam Silver already came out and said that that's going to be something that they're going to try to do with the CBA before they actually negotiate it, because he was saying they think that players load managing and sitting out games is an issue. So we have documented that the NBA and the commissioner already had a problem with players not playing games, and they wanted to alleviate it or fix it or combat it or change that, right? So they already said that that's what they want to do. So we know the NBA and the owners do not like when players sit out, right? All right, so I say all that to say this. Now, let's go back to the type of players and the type of comments Stephen A. make when it comes to players that miss games or load manage. The last 4 years, he's been talking about it. You can just pull it up. Stephen A. Smith and load manage. He's been talking about it, right? And in a particular player, Kyrie Irving. Now, he wasn't really load managing, right? He got suspended 2 straight years. He got suspended for the vaccination, and he got suspended for a tweet last year, missing those games. But his suspension brought out so much venom from Stephen A. Smith. He talked so much about that man. And Kwame Brown and myself as well kept saying the way Stephen A. Smith is making it his personal business to come out and talk about Kyrie and talk about how he's not worth a long-term contract. Do not give him a long-term contract. Do not give him a long-term contract. He just kept beating it in everybody's head. Don't give him a long-term contract. And he kept doing it all the way up until he left Brooklyn, got to Dallas, and then this summer he finally signed his long-term contract. Now that he signed that contract, Stephen A. Smith don't have a lot of negative things to say about him because there's no point. So that lets me know that the reason why he was trying to do it was to try to get him not to get a long-term contract, or try to help whoever the GM was that was going to sign him, try to help him leverage that reputation of him missing games to somehow be beneficial to them so they can get a team-friendly contract with Kyrie Irving, who's a superstar, right? He just kept trying to diminish his character and his worth, and I thought it was an agenda behind it. Well, now he ain't got a lot of bad stuff to say. He already signed a deal. He got a shoe deal. What else? I mean, it's no point of trying to diminish his worth now because he already got the money. So now what is he going to do? He's going to pivot to another player. Before I reveal what player he pivoted to, let me play how he talks about Kyrie Irving now. Listen to how mellow he is. No venom. He's not being too harsh. He even said, hey, man, he got his money. You know what I mean? It worked out for him. He doing good in Dallas, right? It's cool. And then we go play how his new target is. We go play the the audio of his new target. But this is what he's saying about Kyrie.
But at this particular moment in time, I'm not going to say anything. Right now, I want to get to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is an NBA superstar for the Dallas Mavericks, now formerly of the Brooklyn Nets, formerly of the Boston Celtics, formerly of the Cleveland Cavaliers, in which he won a title with LeBron James in 2016 after they overcame a 3-1 deficit and knocked off Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and the Golden State Warriors to help LeBron James deliver the first title to the city of Cleveland in over a half century. That Kyrie Irving has made news for a variety of reasons that one could easily deduce has damaged his career to some degree, but I think he's recovered nicely. Went to Dallas, averaged over 26 a game in the games that he played with Luka Doncic and under coach Jason Kidd coaching, even though they missed the playoffs and they didn't get to the play-in or anything like that. They didn't want to get to the play-in, so they missed the playoffs. It's one of those situations where he ended up re-signing and ultimately got a 3-year deal. Props to him because Kyrie Irving is box office. Kyrie Irving is worth over $35 million a year. My issue with him is just be on the court and play. Just be on the court and play. Don't miss so many damn games. As long as he's playing, I'm good with Kyrie Irving, period, okay? All of that stuff is days of the past. He made news again.
He said all of that other stuff was days of the past. Me coming out to Kyrie Irving personally and trying to diminish his worth and say he's not worth a long-term deal, that's all the days of the past. Why is it the days of the past? Because he already got a long-term deal and there's no point in me doing it no more. So that lets me know that there was a purpose behind it. He was trying to diminish his worth so he can get a lesser contract or not get a long-term deal at all. Because his suggestion was Kyrie Irving should be signed for 1-year deals every year. That was his suggestion. He said it multiple times. 1-year deals every year. That was his suggestion, right? Who was he speaking for? And why is it not even a conversation anymore? Why? So oh man, that was the past. I'm good with Kyrie. That was the past. So he's not going to be going after Kyrie anymore because he already got his money, right? He got paid, got his long-term deal, got his shoe deal back. I'm done with Kyrie. Now what's next? Well, when he first started talking about Kyrie, it was real close to his contract. At the end of his contract, he had a player option, and just like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George now for the Clippers, they both have 1 year left with a player option for the 2024 season. So they're playing on their last year unless they take that player option. So most players don't want to play on that player option. They want to secure a long-term deal the summer before they have to take the option. They want to like this season should be the year they're looking for a new contract. They're negotiating, right? Just like Kyrie Irving when he was at Brooklyn, when it was time for him to negotiate his contract, that's when Stephen A. Smith was the loudest and saying that he didn't deserve X, Y, and Z. I think that he was speaking for Joe Tsai and Sean Marks at that time, trying to help them corner Kyrie and hopes that he'll take some lesser deal or some deal covered with player incentives, right? Or at the worst, a 1-year deal. Play on a 1-year deal every year. I think he's doing that again with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Listen to what he said about that.
You've missed 119 of 308 regular season games. That's 38% due to injuries. In that time span, you've earned $148.2 million in your career. 57.3 million of those monies were for games missed. Kawhi Leonard, he's missed 147 of 308 regular season games. That's 48% due to injuries. Kawhi's earned $146.9 million in his career with the Clippers. About $70.8 million were for games he's missed. I don't see the Clipper fans getting any refunds. I still am waiting for that championship from the fair-weather stepchild known as the Clippers compared to the Lakers. If you combine your money with his money, that equates to $102 million in salary and $17 million in endorsements.
So that's just a piece of it. That was more. This was an episode that was, I mean, it was all Paul George. He was supposed to be clapping back at Paul George because on a previous episode he went. As a matter of fact, was it on his show, First Take show? Yeah, he went at Kawhi Leonard saying, "You should have played hurt in the playoffs against Phoenix, and you're wasting people's money." And he called Kawhi Leonard the worst superstar, not in the NBA but in sports. He said it's the worst superstar in sports, right? And Paul George had something to say about that on his podcast. He was like, "Look, man, like you don't know what people do to get ready to play, and you don't know when people can play and when they can't play. Like going out there to play 5 minutes for what? Why would I make an injury worse by going out there trying to play on it? Why would I go out there when I really can't be 100% to help my team and try to do it because you feel like I'm sitting out games on purpose?" Like seriously, like these people, Kawhi Leonard is not that type of dude who don't really want to play. But I think the goal of Stephen A. Smith now is to help the Clippers. I don't know I don't know if it's the commissioner or if these GMs are calling him. I don't know what it is, but it always seems around that contract. He's putting his mouth on somebody to try to diminish their worth. So now he's saying that they're getting free money and they're not doing nothing. And it's a waste of money for the Clippers to pay them, and they're the worst superstar, and all this crazy stuff. And we're just about to start counting their checkbooks and their wallets, and putting it all out there on TV and on your show. This is somehow some type of big news, but no one's ever gonna talk about how much the Clippers are making because Paul George and Kawhi are on the roster. Like just having them on the roster boosting them up. Like they just built a new arena for the Clippers. They're going to finally get out of the daggone basement of the Lakers and get their own arena. And you think that they want to go into their arena without their two superstars, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? No. But if you let Stephen A. Smith talk about it, he's going to be talking about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard just as much and just as bad as he talked about Kyrie Irving for the last 2 or 3 years. And I think the purpose of him doing all that is just to diminish their worth. And hopefully they take lesser contracts or whatever. I don't know what his real motive is, but it's just weird, man. It's just weird, and I think the NBA probably is applauding him for doing it. because the way he tell it, man, he like, look, man, I talked to all people all around the league. This is what they're saying. So he's in a roundabout way saying that he's the mouthpiece of several people around the league, several GMs and the commissioner. He's saying this is how they talk about these players. So I think it's interesting to even kind of pay attention to, man. Let's just see how far he would go with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Let's see if he keep talking about their wallet. And maybe this was a warning shot. Maybe this was a look, man, that you could be my target. You could be my next target. I'm done with Kyrie. You can be my next target. Or just keep my name out your mouth and I won't say nothing about you either. So maybe this was a warning shot, but something tells me this is going to be his new topic for this upcoming season. He'll be talking about this a lot. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and them missed games. So keep your eye on for that. Appreciate y'all for tuning into the episode. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you share that episode as well. If you're watching from Facebook, make sure you go over to YouTube and give us a sub over there. Help us build that channel up on YouTube. Other than that, man, I see y'all on the next episode with the full panel.